whatever the hell this is, it isn't from around here. At this point, I know that I'm getting a visit from ET, and that's what all this shit's about. And they had me stuck in that bed, and I was white, and I'm horrified. And there for a while, when we're strained in that bed, you're horrified, and you're just wishing. I see these things moving around, and I'm thinking, just as long as they stay out of here, as long as they don't come in the bedroom, they can do whatever the hell they want in the rest of the house, as long as they don't come in here. And I'm being really quiet, thinking that that's going to help, But it doesn't matter, because these things are flying around. I see them run by the doorway a couple times, and then all of a sudden one of them runs up right in the middle of the doorway opening, and this is the ugliest damn little thing you've ever seen, man. It's about 18 inches high. It looks like it's got a face like an old man. I mean, it's really tight eyes, really tight mouth, and it's got this, it looks like either a battle armor or some kind of an exoskeleton on it, and it's got these spikes coming off of it, and it really resembles a battle armor. And I'm looking at this little thing, and I'm going, oh my God, man, look at that. Oh, crap, man. And then all of a sudden, the other two, it's almost like they were playing chase. They were looking in drawers, they were opening cabinets, and then next thing you know, they were running around, they were running up the wall after each other. And when this other one, it was like it must have been a supervisor or something. It looked at the other two, and they stopped doing what they were doing, and they went back to searching drawers and cabinets. And then he stood there in the doorway, and I looked at him for probably 10, 15 seconds looking at this thing, and it looked almost like some sort of a half humanoid, half insect looking thing. And then the next thing I know, what I happened was afraid was going to happen. All three of them shot through the doorway and went right underneath the bed I was under. And then it was really terrifying at this point.
Oh, I'd be peeing the bed at that point if it was me.
And I could hear them tearing into the box springs underneath the bed, and then they started shaking the bed. They started lifting me up on the bed and slamming the bed back to the floor, and my body is bouncing on the bed, and I'm still paralyzed. I can't do a damn thing, and I can hear their claws scratching like they're trying to claw through the mattress. But if you ever look at a box spring, it's nothing really except it's a big wood frame, and it's got like a piece of metal mesh wire laying on the top of it, covered in the fabric. And it was like they were trying to dig through the bed to get to me, and they made American steel, and they couldn't get through it. And they were just, that bed was bouncing, and when that bed was bouncing and stuff like that, I don't know if they were just frustrated that they couldn't get through it to get to me, or if the cat took off. And I mean, he took off of that bed, and he ran through the door, and he was peeling around the corner to get the hell out of there. And I was wishing I could join him, but I'm still stuck in this bed. They've held me hostage so long now, I'm to the point now I'm frustrated. I'm not, I went from being afraid to being frustrated that I can't get loose from these damn things. And I'm thinking, these guys are going to kill me. They're going to tear my back out from the backside through the mattress. And I started getting really mad, I'm like, it's time to fight, because they're going to kill me if I don't do something. I can't just continue to lay here. So I decided that I'm going to use every ounce of strength I got, and I'm going to jump out of that bed, and I was going to cuss them, and I'm going to grab a golf club in the corner of my bedroom. There's a golf bag, and I'm going to grab a golf club out of that bag, and I'm going to go to town on these suckers. And man, I made a move, and whatever force they were holding me, it affected my breathing and my heart, so that it felt like I almost had a heart attack. I mean, it really hurt. I mean, it was almost like my heart was fixing to stop beating, and I didn't do anything. I tried the hardest that I could possibly try, and all it did was hurt me. And I'm still just stuck here in this bed, and I'm thinking, man, they're just going to kill me, I guess, because I can't do anything. And so I laid here, and I heard them, and they went over to the cabinet. I have a gun cabinet right next to the bed, and it's locked because my girlfriend has kids, and they come over on short notice at times. So I'm really good about keeping it locked. But the laser that I had shined on the craft is being kept in there. and it never occurred to me maybe they were just checking out the laser. But I think that's probably what when they got to the point where the laser was being kept, the whole ordeal just stopped. Everything went quiet. And then the strangest thing happened. Is all of a sudden my body jumped out of the bed, and I cussed, and I grabbed that golf club, and I was furious. And I was free from the bed, and I was moving, and this was what I had tried to do like 5 minutes earlier. And nothing happened. It was like they broke the signal my mind said to my body, and as soon as they released me, that signal got processed, and I jumped out of that bed, and it almost freaked me out because I had tried to do that 5 minutes earlier, not now. It was like my body was like a robot acting on its own. And I grabbed that golf club, and I went on and I already had the club, and I was already furious, and I went on an alien hunt in my house. And I never saw them anywhere, but I checked every dark corner, and every cabinet and every drawer, and the whole house was open. And there were some lamps that were knocked over and broke, and there were some dishes that were knocked over and broke. And these guys were gone. There was no sign of them, And I thought, man, there was no doubt that these things are not from around here. They're nothing that you could simply explain away as a squirrel or something like that. These guys, they were so strong and so fast. They moved with blazing speed. And it's something that small, lifting a whole bed frame with my 200. At that time, I probably weighed 280 something pounds, and they lifted the whole bed with my body on it up in the air, was bouncing me off of the bed and slamming it back to the floor. With these three little 18-inch guys were doing all that. So these things are not only they were incredibly strong and fast.
Now, do you think those creatures, whatever they were, came from that hole you found that you thought the cat did?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is like I don't think my cat made the hole. I think these guys had came into my house earlier, and maybe they had grabbed the cat and pulled him underneath there, or maybe the cat had went to the hole to flee him. So I can't guarantee. I didn't see anything out of place in the house. But like I said, the house was, the house, none of the drawers were open at that point. So, I'm not really sure what made the hole, but I know it was a very strange, and I went up underneath the bed, and one of the scariest places I had to check was up in the box springs. And I was kind of afraid that they might put some kind of device or something in there, or might be hiding up in there. So I looked up in there. When I come back in my bedroom, I noticed that the gun cabinet was completely open, and the doors were open on it. And I know that thing was locked. And it occurred to me at that point they had probably stole I thought they'd taken the laser. They were curious about it. They just took it. And I looked in there, and the laser was still there.
Well, it sounds like they were really checking you out. Shining a laser on a UFO, wasn't, I hate to say it, wasn't the smartest move to make. So that probably, enticed them to want to check you out. And then you're just lucky they didn't abduct you at that point. I mean, there's been so many people who have been abducted out of their own bedroom. I mean, you were risking that. I mean, seriously, if you think about that.
Oh yeah, when I was shining the laser on the craft, I knew I was, I kind of asked for it, in a way, and I understand, why they did it, if they were curious about the laser, or whatever. But the next day I called my friend Alan Osterfield and went up on the hill, and I said, look, I can't live in this house peacefully until I go underneath there and make sure these things ain't denned up underneath my house. And so I had a pistol with me and a flashlight, and I went underneath my house and made sure that they weren't up underneath there either.
Now, did you see any signs underneath your house of anything strange, any like deep scratch marks, or anything like broken, or just anything strange? Did you see anything like that?
Well, I looked at where the hole was, and it looked like you could see claw marks around it. Like maybe it had been clawed out from the underneath of the house, as opposed to being clawed from the inside of the house. And I noticed something else. Not long ago, I had thrown a bunch of what they call mothballs underneath the house, because somebody had told me that it keeps snakes and varmints out from underneath your house. And I had found some at a garage sale, and I put them in a big mesh bag, and I had thrown them up underneath the house. And there was a bunch of them. There was several boxes of them. I mean, there was 200 or 300 of them. Probably way more than a person should use for that kind of. And I went up underneath there, and I noticed that the sack was torn to shreds, and there wasn't not a single mothball to be found anywhere. Not one. And, you know, and I don't know if that's even associated with the ET being up underneath there, or if it's something completely separate, you know. But that was the only thing that was missing. That I found that was completely missing from my house was the mothballs that I had thrown up underneath it.
Now they might have dissolved, but I mean, with your weather there, I don't know. Now, in one of your pictures, you're holding this like big metal ball. What is that thing?
Since I've been to. It was about a mile from where I seen some of the lights, and I recorded a video on my YouTube channel, Ronny Dawson YouTube channel. And there's a guy that lives about a mile from my house, and I said, you got to go see this Jim Marlin guy. And he has all sorts of alien encounters and stuff like that. And he said, you have to talk to this guy, you know. And so I connected with this guy named Jim Marlin. And he used to be Willie Nelson's road manager way back in the day, and I mean, he's got pictures in his house of him and Dolly Parton and Waylon Jennings and all sorts of famous country western singers. He was a road manager and promoter, and so this guy, you know, he's hanging around a lot of famous people, and he lived out in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
For a long time, and anyway, but this guy. He said, well, he has this metal ball in this thing. And I said, Jim, you know, what is that? He said, this came, he said, a friend of mine out in Taos, New Mexico, he said he lives in a big old $1 million ranch out there around Taos, New Mexico. And he said, this guy, he said, a huge UFO, they called him out there and wanted to talk to him. He went out there, and they said a big old UFO had hovered over their house and scared them half to death. And they locked the doors, and they barricaded themselves inside the house, and they were scared to go outside or afraid something was fixing to come in after them. And they said eventually the thing just left. And the next morning when they had the courage to go outside, there's like 12 of these huge, big old metal balls laying in their lawn. And they wanted to talk to Jim because he was the area UFO guy. And they told him about the encounter, and they said, Jim, you can have one if you want it. Jim has had this thing the whole time. And I'm like, so Jim, you're telling me this thing came off a UFO? And he goes, yeah. He goes, they believe it came off the craft that was hovering over their house, you know. And I thought that, you know, that is physical evidence. That's a big deal. And I started investigating it, and I read about the bent spear. I had never heard about the bent spear. It's a very similar metal ball. And this thing rolls funny, and it rings like a tuning fork whenever you play music around it and stuff like that. And I researched the bent spear, and I thought, man, this sounds just like the bent spear. And we've been researching that thing, and we're looking for somebody to do some X-raying on it. And Daryl Sims, alien hunter out of Houston, has offered to take it to the University of Houston and do all sorts of testing and stuff on it. But the guy who owns it is he don't want to let go of it. He treasures the thing, and he's afraid that he'll never get it back. So I'm kind of the middleman in between the guys that are wanting to research it and the guy who owns it. So that's what that's all about.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd be really curious what it could be, you know? I mean, what type of metal it is, you know, if it's from Earth or from someplace else.
Well, I've seen it do some strange stuff. We put it on the floor, and this thing, I mean, it rocked back and forth, rolled to and fro, and it had a weird roll to it. And I watched this thing. It rolled for a solid 3 minutes, and we were sitting there having a conversation. And I said, "Are you guys noticing that this thing is still rolling?" Somebody said, my boy was playing with it, and he set it down there. 3 minutes later, it's still rolling around the floor. And I told one of the guys, I said, we need to be recording this thing, because they should have stopped rolling a long time ago. And this guy picked up his phone, and he recorded it, I think, for like another 2 minutes. And